Hey, what's up, everybody? It's got another little update here from the cold and dreary Arkansas winter, complete with icicles coming from the roof. Now, it's kind of strange to see this much snow. We got maybe 5 inches of snow here in northeastern Arkansas, which is kind of weird. They haven't had this much snow here in years. Also, the whole winter was pretty mild. It was in the 50s Fahrenheit on Christmas Day, but then it dropped real cold after that, as you've been seeing in the weather recently. Certain parts of the country are gripped with this intense cold very recently, so we are, of course, are also victims to that. But it's kind of nice. So it's maybe like, I woke up this morning, it was 5 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like negative, I don't know, like what is that, negative 15 Celsius? I don't know. But anyways, now it's like 13 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's like negative something Celsius. Anyways, it's cold, and so it's pretty nice here still. It's very peaceful. I started living in my cabin, so this is it right here. It looks like crap right now because it's just not done and it's very tiny, but it's gonna look really cool when I build the other room on the side here and have a bathroom and other stuff in it, and I build another little room over here. And for now, I just built the building, sealed all the gaps. I put some insulation on the floor. I got to work on some insulation beneath it. For those who ask, no, it's not stacked on cinder blocks. That's actually a fully poured cement footing, and I just use the cinder blocks as the form. But that's all going to be covered up by the building skirt anyways. This building's going to be really awesome once I convert it into a house and build like 8 more rooms onto it in the future. This is just kind of to get started. See, I didn't want to get a mortgage and spend the next 30 years paying off the bank. I'd prefer to just kind of build the house myself bit by bit, which is kind of cool. My grandfather did that. So it's certainly nice to live out here and experience that. And I have a heater in the cabin, so it stays toasty warm all night. It's propane, which is kind of, yeah. I'm going to put a wood stove in eventually, but the propane is kind of quick and easy for now. Yeah, so there's a lot of snow on the ground here. The girl at Walmart, we were there today, she said that like maybe once every 2 or 3 years they get a snowfall that's not even as much as this. So it's really rare just to even have snow on the ground in this part of the country, much less to have 5 inches of snowfall in a period when it's been like much colder than usual in this area. So it's nice, and it reminds me also, like, a long time ago I left Connecticut and I moved to the tropics. And one of the reasons was because I just couldn't stand the cold. And well, one reason I couldn't stand the cold was I started to develop health problems that were related to the cold. For example, the skin on the sides of my wrists would get really like dry and chapped, like really dry skin during the winter. My lips would get really chapped. I would have a constant runny nose all winter long. Just constant runny nose, and things like that were happening. And now I realize that those things are not normal. They're due to toxicity. It's not because the human body was not designed to handle the cold, right? Caucasians did not evolve in the tropics, right? Europeans did not evolve in the tropics. It's been hundreds of thousands of years since we were in the legit tropics. So it's kind of like our bodies are actually designed to withhold this, to withstand this cold. And one of the ways that we did that was because our brains are so big. We developed technology, aka clothing, and also the ability to build structures that we could then use to withstand the cold. So that's kind of part of our design. But back then I didn't really know what I was thinking about. I was susceptible to a lot of, gurus on the internet, and I just decided humans are a tropical species. I got to get to the tropics and avoid all these problems, right? Turns out that is not the way. And now I'm a lot older now, and so I have less health problems now. I don't have any of those symptoms anymore. I shouldn't say less. I don't have any of the symptoms I used to have in the cold. Now I'm fine. I got used to it pretty quickly. Of course, if it's like 30 degrees Fahrenheit or like negative 1 degree Celsius at night, for the first time, you're like, wow, this is really cold. But then it drops 10 degrees below that and 5 degrees below that. And all of a sudden, when it's the same temperature again, a couple of days later, you think, wow, this is nice. It feels like summer. I can work outside all day in this weather. So you get used to the cold really quickly. Oh, there's a big tractor in my way. Scott left the tractor here at this other cabin that's here. I'm working on it, building it for him. And once it's done, we're going to drag it over to his place on logs or whatever, we're going to pull it with a tractor. It's almost done. It just needs the roof sheets. Kind of like mine also needs the roof sheets and a few other finishing touches, but mine is obviously in a more of a state of completion. So we were using the tractor to get up on the roof and build it. Anyway, so living in the cold is pretty great, and our bodies are designed to do it. Even this part of the country, I would say if you're worried about the grand solar minimum that's coming up in the next decade, when temperatures are going to drop everywhere, growing seasons are going to get shorter, there's going to be massive food shortage in like the middle of the 2030s. If you're worried about that, the Ozarks is probably about as far north as you want to go. And the farther south you want to go, you're going to be dealing with a lot more hordes, basically, rampaging hordes. So you kind of want to pick a sweet spot where it's not going to be too cold during the grand solar minimum, but it's also not in an area where all the people who can't survive in the cold because they have low impulse control are going to be thriving. You don't want to be in an area like that. Some of you might be wondering what the electricity situation is here. We're about to get electricity hooked up by the road, but I'm a bit far back from the road, so it'll be a while before I have grid power hooked up to the house over here. So for now I'm running a generator. It's kind of a borrowed generator, but I just ordered a new one it's like a much quieter generator, so I'll put it inside a little baffle box so you barely hear it. And then I'm going to put a little battery bank in the house, so with an inverter. So it'll basically, turn the generator on a few times a day, a few hours a day. You don't really hear it. It'll charge the battery bank, and then the rest of the day, the lights and computer and stuff like that are going to be running off of the batteries. And then when the generator's on, it charges the batteries. I've done something similar like that before. Later on, you can hook solar panels up to it. It's a great kind of off-grid thing. And then, when I have like power tools, or when I'm using power tools, or when I want to use like a washing machine or something, you just turn on the generator for that period of time. And then once the grid power gets pulled over here, like a few of us decide we want grid, so we pay the electric company to bring it over here, then I can just hook up the grid electric and it'll be fine. But there's a lot of solutions, even to like running water. Over there we have a pressure tank and a on-demand hot water heater and a shower that we built. So there's a lot of things you can do if you don't have tens of thousands of dollars right away to drill a well and do hook up electric and grid and things like that. There's a lot of stuff you can do in the meantime and still have the same level of amenity. Hey, check out the little bunny rabbit. Yeah, he's actually domestic rabbit that somebody let out here. And he's just been surviving the coyotes. No animals have gotten him. It's a her. She violently killed all her offspring. One of them, she broke its back and just let it lie there twitching. And the other one, she just tore apart. I don't understand. She's a terrible mother, but she's very good at surviving herself. Oh, that's cute. Her face is all covered in snow. She's going to go in my little carport and find the little rabbit pellets I left on the ground for her, because it's a bit hard to find food in the snow if you're a rabbit. I mean, yeah, you can tunnel beneath it and chew on sticks, but she's super cute, so I help her out when I can. There's the work table is covered in snow. It's not going to melt for a couple of days because it's not going to go above freezing for a couple of days. But after this, the weather's going to get real nice. This is literally the coldest part of the year in this part of the country, is this part of January. And it usually doesn't even get this cold, but there's a cold snap this year. And so in a week, I'm looking at the schedule, things are already starting to get warmer. And by the end of January, it's already going back up to the 40s and 50s. At the beginning of February, it's already going to be 40s and 50s. And then it's just going to be nice from then on. I can already start planting stuff. In mid-February, I'll start my vegetable garden right over there and already be planting peas and other cold weather stuff at the beginning of that month, middle of that month. And so February is going to be pretty awesome. And then going into March and April, April, we have that big event here. We're having a big camp out. Anyone who's in the Ozarks, Return to the Land, PMA, the Private Membership Association, you can go to, I think it's returntotheland.org. and find out about that. If you get accepted to be a member of that organization, you can come to our camp out here, our big extravaganza in April. It's during the time of the eclipse, so you can come watch the eclipse with us, and then we'll have cool events and talks, and we'll be working on some community projects, like starting the foundation for our Viking longhouse in the community area. But I got a lot of stuff to do before then too, because I have some acres of land here that I have to turn into pasture. It's already a mix of grass and trees, but I have to seed a lot more grass, put a big fence around it so I can get some sheep going, plant grass around the house, start the vegetable garden over there. I got to plant some fruit trees, some apple trees, and other things along the edge there. And yeah, it's gonna be a great few months coming up. So now it's really cold and snowy. So I'm just gonna crank the heater up and sit up in the loft in the cabin on my computer doing a bunch of important work that people are bugging me to do. So yeah, it's gonna be a couple days of hibernation, enjoying the propane and propane accessories. And then after that, things are gonna warm up and we'll start getting back in action again, getting stuff done. Hope y'all enjoyed this little update. Have any questions about off-grid living in the middle of the winter? Let me know. Post a comment below the video. Make sure you're following me on all the appropriate social medias, unless you are easily offended, in which case you probably shouldn't. And then, you know, you can follow less controversial figures if you want, like Ben Shapiro. He's not talking about the tunnels. And when he does, I think it's perfectly normal that someone will be able to tunnel between the two buildings to get between them quicker. I think it's ridiculous, So I can't wait to hear that video if he ever broaches the subject of the tunnels. Oh yeah, the big creek we have running through the property, which you can't see, but it's like down at the bottom of the hill over there. It's all full of water now. It's just tons of water going through because of all the precipitation we had in the last couple weeks. So a lot of water down there right now. It's really cool to see. All right, that's all, folks. Drury cold landscape is going to look much better when everything starts getting green and growing in a month. Literally in February, everything starts to grow again around here. So it's going to be awesome to see the landscape totally change. Those icicles will melt away.